I always do the funny. I think we're live. Welcome, everybody. Oh, I think I've done the wrong view. There we go. Welcome, everyone. Today, you have joined Conversations with Ladies Who Launch. I am Anthea Cutler, your mindset coach for women in business. And today, I am joined with Alli Beck. Thanks so much for joining us, Alli.
Yeah, of course. Thanks so much for having me. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, I can't wait to have a good conversation with you about the behind the scenes on your business and where you've been and where you're at and any tips you want to share along the way.
Sure, yeah.
So Alli Beck is a brand stylist and strategist. She's also a website designer and copywriter. And Alli has a passion for helping business owners design brands and websites that not only look good, but have a strategy behind them, which I absolutely love. Alli offers one-to-one custom services as well as her online branding course, The Amplified Brand. And you can grab her free Brand Your Brilliance challenge. We've posted the link below. So welcome so much, Alli. I'm really excited to chat to you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So first things first is I love to ask people, what would you love for your ideal clients to say about you when you walk into a room? What would you love to hear them saying about you and your work?
Just that, again, that it is work that is strategic, that branding and your branding and website are really great tools that create a foundation for growth in your business. And so I love being the catalyst for them to see that growth, to really see transformation happen and for things to speed up in their business. And so, yeah, I work with a lot of women's service providers and have seen some really fun things happen when they not just made their brand look pretty or chose some nice colors, but really put some thought and strategy in behind it and see the outcome of that, of like really suddenly things taking off or them really resonating with their ideal client in ways that they haven't and attracting them. So yeah, so that's kind of like been my goal, is to really have a focus on that strategy piece.
Beautiful. And how long have you been in the game? Like where did this business come from? Why did you start?
Yeah, so it's been 5 years in January, and definitely has evolved in a lot of different ways since I started. I first started as, it was because I was working in like the nonprofit space in the marketing area and doing a lot of kind of design and copywriting, but I was finding that in terms of like branding, whenever we needed help with a logo or with a website, the results we were getting weren't really aligned with like our greater vision or our greater purpose. Like there was like a piece missing, and this kind of was a repeating theme. And so that was when I was like, I kind of want to do this, for other business owners that maybe need that help. And so that's kind of how it started, is more of like, I saw a need and I wanted to fill it. And then it kind of grew into something bigger. So it was more of a side hustle at the beginning. And then I would say, I kind of had like 2 like big events right in a row. My stepmom passed away of breast cancer. And then 2 months later, I had a baby born 2 months early. So she was born at 32 weeks preemie. And so they were all, that was obviously pretty traumatic and eye-opening. And I think like one of the things for me that it really made me realize, like, life is short and you don't have that much time to live out your purpose. So I had kind of been like sitting back, maybe afraid to take the leap full time to my business. And so those were kind of the events that led me to jump in full time, wholeheartedly, and really do this. And so then I really feel like that was when my business kind of started gaining traction, taking off, and becoming what it is today. So yeah, that's kind of the beginning of it all.
Yeah, what a beautiful story. What a beautiful story. And I love the idea that it's almost like you look from the top down on your brand, as opposed to when I first started my business, I thought I needed a logo first.
Yeah.
And that seems really backwards for what I know now, because it was like I literally just planned one in my head, got someone to make it, and kind of developed into the brand that I was. But
right.
the most recent time that I've had branding done for me, it was like completely the opposite way around. It was like, hang on.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's okay for your first business, because I probably didn't know what I stood for.
Right.
You know, and what my brand looked like when I first started out. But yeah, I love that it kind of flips everything on its head.
Definitely. And even for me, you know, just as, you know, over time, the more I've learned about branding, you know, when I started, my business was pretty broad. I kind of marketed to anybody, and really have kind of honed in on the things that I love most. And also on, you know, when we're getting way more specific about my target market, and then learning that that's all really part of branding, like knowing who you're talking to, and knowing what your message is are pieces of branding that, you know, I like to help my clients incorporate in, so that their personality and their message and their values are all ingrained in that, and that they're speaking to the group that they want to speak to, and really drawing that person. So
yeah. And it can be so fascinating. Like, I think I came from a corporate world when I first did my first branding, and it was totally DIY, but it really had that corporate feel behind it. And now look, I got people swimming in the ocean behind me, because my biggest message is like, let's make business easy and fun. But that only came through when I started working with clients, and I was like, why is everyone so serious? Like, we can have fun with this. So it's such a fascinating topic. I could talk about it for hours. So when you first started your business, like or in those early days, what did your business and launching look like for you? Like, what do you look back and go, wow, that's really changed for me now?
Yeah, definitely both, I would say. You know, like I said at the beginning, I was kind of like doing it all for everybody, and have gotten much more specific. And then definitely in terms of launching, I think at the beginning, my launches were like really complicated and a lot of work. And I was just, you know, you kind of want to do it all and be in all the places. And so I kind of simplified things down and really gotten clear on, I think I've gotten even more clear on who I'm talking to. And so I think they look a lot more streamlined and simple and direct, as opposed to kind of like everything everywhere. You know, you kind of try it all. So, and it makes it so much easier, you know, when you've kind of pared it down to like the nuts and bolts and the things that work for you.
Yeah. And what do you think the difference has been for you emotionally? Like, for me, when I hear that story, I feel like my original launches were big and hard and overwhelming and complicated, and often resulted in burnout.
Oh my gosh.
And then we go through the process of simplifying and making it easy and having them all lead to one thing. Was it the same for you, or was it different?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's so funny because my very first launch ever, when I was launching my course, my babysitter got COVID and she was sick for 5 weeks. Then my toddler got sick, which she didn't get COVID, it was something else, but she was really sick. And then there was a huge windstorm on the day of my launch. So like electricity is going out everywhere. I'm thinking like, will I even have internet? So it was kind of, and it was just one thing after another. It was kind of like all of the things that could have gone wrong did. And it was very overwhelming and very emotional. And obviously some of those things, I think like you can't control some of those things from happening. Life just happens. You kind of have to expect that. And so now I think when I go into a launch, it's like, I kind of go in knowing that it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to, you know, things are going to go wrong. And that's okay. And you just kind of like roll with it the best that you can. And people are really understanding too, and stuff happens. But I definitely would say like the biggest change would just be the emotional piece. Like, I think that launching used to be really emotional. It used to be tied in with like, if things didn't go well, it felt like it was a reflection about me, you know, or my value. And now I feel like I'm kind of been able to, and of course, you know, it's hard to completely separate yourself, but now I've been able to kind of step back and look at it more like a scientist and be like, okay, well, this didn't work, so why? And look at the numbers, look at the data, tweak things, try different things, and they treat it more like a brand experiment as opposed to like an emotional roller coaster. And so my few launches have been so fun. You know, they've been,
what is that?
yeah, it's been great because it's more about engaging with the women who join in and watching them make huge, you know, like leaps in certain things in their business, and then just really engaging with them and getting to know people, and you know, the outcome is the outcome, and then you kind of move forward from there. So yeah, it's been a lot more fun.
Beautiful. And I really like the image of where you describe you're more like a scientist these days, because sometimes when some of my clients are stuck in their thing and I'm doing mindset coaching with them, I get them to sit there and visualize that they're putting on a lab coat and they're putting on their spectacles and they're kind of mapping out whatever is going on around them instead of feeling judgmental on themselves.
Yeah.
Because when we're in that judgment zone, we cannot see what is going on objectively. It just feels like we're wading through that thick mud. But by being able to put the lab coat on and the spectacles and kind of see it with a bit more lightness, it becomes less about you and just like what's going on around you. I once remember that I was doing a Facebook Live with a lady named Tash Corbin. She's a business coach. I don't know if you know her. And I was on retreat with her and we got really hysterical with laughter because we were like, as women in business, we take everything so personally.
Yeah.
And we were like imagining the CEO of Tip Top or like whatever, some big company beating himself up for like bread sales going down one. We were like, how ridiculous is that? He's going to work out, or, you know, the team's going to work out what happened in the market, whatever. It's not about him.
Yeah. Yeah, it totally. Yeah. I think like as women business owners, I mean, just a lot of the women I've engaged in, we're really hard on ourselves and we have really high expectations for ourselves. And so sometimes, yeah, it can just be all about like beating ourselves up for when things don't go well or whatever that is. And, you know, and of course, like I said, it is still a journey. I mean, that's all, even still, like there is that temptation to like take things personally or get wrapped up emotionally. And so I think it's just like something you continually learn and like maybe take a step up in, and it's a little bit easier. And then, you know, over time, you're able to manage that a little bit better. When those emotions rise up, you can like have the tools to deal with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I love having like these candid conversations with women in business, because it's like, I feel like it's our job to remind each other because it's we're not going to do it perfectly. Even the non-judgment piece and the mindset piece, we're not going to do it perfectly 100% of the time. But if we keep talking about it, like, don't take it personally.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. And so can you tell me about, like, is there a specific time when you remember going through a lot of challenges in your business, and kind of what did that look like and how did you get through?
I think my biggest challenge kind of as a theme throughout my business has been just time. You know, like I'm a mom of a toddler. We bought and renovated a home. So there's a lot going on just in life. And so just trying to manage working for my clients and then also working in my business to make it grow and make it better. And then juggling just my home life and being a mom and all of that has been like probably the biggest thing. And so I've worked really hard to be super strategic about the time that I do have. I mean, at the beginning, you have to just like get scrappy. And it was like, for a while, it was just like nap time, you know, like I worked at nap time, I worked at nights, sometimes it was weekends. And now, you know, as my business grown, I've been able to do things like hire a VA and get childcare. And so you kind of incrementally can do things to support yourself in that way. But even still, I would say, you know, I have to be careful to manage the time that I have really wisely and make sure that I know exactly what I need to get done. And I'm like, I have this time to do it. And so I have to be super focused on all of that. So yeah, I would say that that's probably the biggest thing. And I mean, like we just mentioned too, just learning how to roll with the punches of business and realizing that it's always a lot harder than you think it's going to be, you know, especially when you're doing something new and other people are doing it too. There's lots of competition. How do you stand out? And so just learning to kind of get up when you fall down. And I remember hearing a podcast, I think it was James Wedmore who said it, that like he talked about that your success is inevitable, but your failure is too. And that success is on the other side of failure. And I feel like that has really like been something that like I've said to myself again and again, like, it's okay to fail. You know, I think I'm a perfectionist. I want everything to go well all the time. And it just doesn't. That's just life. And so realizing that like those failures are just getting you closer to your success. And you have to go through those doors first to get there. And sometimes it takes like a few doors. Trying things.
And all those big names that we look up to in business, like sometimes we just see them having the picture perfect lives and the picture perfect journey. I feel like I'm going to sneeze, but it's realizing all the failures. I don't even like to use the word failures, but like all of the hurdles that they have overcome in order to get all of the ideas that they had that didn't work out, all of the like hiccups that they had that didn't work out. I also loved when you talked about like buying back your time, both practically, like getting a VA, i.e. then you have more time, getting help around the home, i.e. then you have more time, but also strategically, like if you're smart with your time, then you buy yourself back time. So good.
Yeah. And I think sometimes as a mom, you have to be that way. Like if you don't, it's like it's so motivating because you're like, I got this time, I got this hour. So it's like a gift and I have to use it really, really well. And so I think like maybe before I had a kid, I was a little bit more lax with that kind of thing. You know, it's like, well, you know, I can goof around here and do this and that and get off track. But now I'm like, okay, I got to be focused. Otherwise it's gone.
And there's that real sense once you have a child, you're like, what did I do with my time before?
I know, and all this time, I was such a, you know, did I use it wisely?
Yeah.
True. Yeah.
I also love the concept of time. Like I do some of this work with the ladies in my membership group, is the concept of time is actually one that's very through your own lens. So whenever I find someone who says I don't have enough time, normally it's that they haven't prioritized their time. They haven't kind of moved everything else out of their schedule in order to feel like they have more time. And they don't realize that and I have been here too, I don't mean like they don't realize, I mean like we don't realize that getting that feeling of spaciousness actually takes work. And it's that like, if I carve out my time and have room to feel like my business is spacious, then it will feel spacious and like I have I have more time, because time's never just gonna like flop on your lap like
right. That is so true. And that's definitely been something that I have worked through, because I think for a long time I used it as like almost an excuse, you know, like it's like, oh, I don't have.
Yeah, a story that we tell ourselves.
Yeah. And then you start realizing like, oh, well, you know, I did, you know, scroll social media last night for a half hour and I did this and that. And so I think it is a lot about like what you prioritize. It's like, you'll make time for the priorities. And so you kind of have to be harsh with yourself almost, of like, okay, well, what do I really want? What am I really working toward? Because we can let it slip away so easily if we're not careful.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then we even like, because I do hypnotherapy with my clients, and we even take it that one step further and reframe time through the lens of, you know, when you're in an airport, and for me, everyone talks about airports differently, but time goes really quickly for me in airports, because it's like you got to go through the gate and whatever. But if you're doing something really arduous, time goes really slowly. Something fun, time goes really quickly. And so it's like flipping that on its head and realizing that we can speed time up through the painful things in life and slow down time for the things that we want to enjoy more. Like I could talk about time for so long.
Yeah, it's really interesting how it's like a static thing that we have, but it's also so subject to our perception of, like you said, if you're like, you've got 3 minutes left on your treadmill, you're like, oh, that's a long time, or versus I'm trying to get out the door, all of a sudden 15 minutes is gone, that kind of thing.
I know. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Anyway, so can you tell us a little bit about a time when you felt like business was easy, and what are your go-tos to make business easy?
Mm-hmm. I would definitely say that it can kind of go up and down in terms of that. Like there's definitely seasons where things are harder, seasons where things feel like I've hit a stride and things are easier. And I think that now I've kind of come to a point in my business where things have kind of leveled off, and it isn't such like I said, like a roller coaster. It's more just kind of like the rolling hills.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just, this season of simplifying, because there was a time in my business where I had all these complex funnels and all these different lead magnets, and everything was so just every like shiny object I'm signing up for. And I kind of got to a point where I'm like, this is so much work to manage and keep track of, and what is it that I really want to do? Who do I really want to help? And how can I just do that and focus more on simplifying everything and building relationships? And so that was really like when I got to the end of 2021 and I was looking forward to 2022, I was like, what are the two things I really want to focus on? And so I would say it was simplifying everything and connection. And since I've done that, that does really simplify it, because if it is just really about people and it is really about connecting with them, that is simple. You don't have to do all these fancy things just to connect with people, right? You just reach out and talk to them, or build a relationship or network or all that. And same with the simplifying, like my offers have become more simple. My launches have become more simple. I do kind of the similar thing over and over, and then you just kind of tweak and refine. And I think, again, going back to like in women in business, sometimes I think, like what I've seen is the ones that I've had experience with is we try something and we're like, it's not working. So then we change everything, right? It's like, scrap it, start over, And so then you're like building Rome every single time you launch, right? And so for me, I've been like, okay, no, I need to, and then that's a really hard temptation for me to break. Because the minute things don't feel like they're going well, my temptation is like, no, I'm going to try something completely different. And so I feel like I've had to fight that. And as I've gotten better at saying no to myself when I'm coming up with all these other ideas, because I think that's part of being a business owner. You just have all these ideas and you want to do all these things. And
so many ideas, but it can lead to a really complicated business.
Yeah. And so I've had to, like, this year more than ever, I've had to say no to myself over and over and be like, no, I'm sticking to what my plan is. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing now. And like down the road, there might be things that I get to add in and do. But like for now, let's just stick to the nuts and bolts of, and really like fine tune that and make that work well. So
yeah. Awesome. It's like that saying no is actually saying yes.
Yeah, exactly. To other things.
Yeah.
Right.
And to the thing you really want. Like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Super cool. Super cool. So I've got a list of questions here and I have no idea where we're up to. Let me just regroup. We've really like flown through these. Oh, so what do you think have been the best supports along the way for you? Like, what are your non-negotiables when you're talking to women in business? Like, even if it's not with regards to your work, like, what if you meet a woman in business and you're like, oh, you have to make sure you X, Y, Z?
Yeah. There's kind of two parts to that question. Like, I would definitely say, as far as support goes, I'm very fortunate to have a husband who really cheers me on and roots for me and supports me. And like, he'll like, you know, he takes my toddler so I can do something like this. You know, he just is my biggest cheerleader. And so that's been, I feel lucky because I know not everybody has that sort of circumstance, and it really does make a difference. So that would be one. And then I also would say like the community I'm a part of like, I do have a coach and I'm part of a group coaching program. And that has been big because you can have all the strategy in the world, and implement it and then feel so lost when things aren't working or if something's not going well. But to have other people as sounding boards that are going through it with you at the same time, and people who can talk you out of, you know, you're crazy when you get freaked out or like, am I doing
it all in the bin? Yeah.
Who can kind of be that outside eye and then that understand. I mean, because as supportive of my husband is, he's not in the business world. So there's a lot of things that like I could talk to him and he doesn't really know what I'm talking about. But so it's nice to have the community that is in it too, that can sympathize and has experienced similar things. And like, we all have gone before. So in some areas, like, you know, I've gone through something already and I can speak to that. But then when I'm going through something, they've, you know, so they can speak, Absolutely. They can encourage me. And so we're all kind of in this journey of growing our businesses together. So that's been really great as far as support. And then as far as non-negotiables, I definitely think I've gotten more careful about like kind of separating business and my personal life and making time for my family, because it's so easy to let it crowd in, you know, your business to kind of take over, or like you've got something going on in your personal life. And so you're kind of let your business go. And so to kind of have to have those boundaries clear. So I don't work nights and weekends very much anymore. You know, obviously there's always exceptions to the rules, but you know, I try not to do that. I try to make sure that I have time with my daughter, that I'm spending time with her intentionally, because that's one of the whole reasons that I wanted this business in the first place, was so I could have time with her. Yeah. That was intentional. That's so I wasn't always just dropping her off somewhere, you know, but that I could actually raise her myself and be part of her life and see all of those milestones and everything. So yeah, definitely making sure that she's a priority, my family, my husband's a priority, and structuring my schedule and my business around that, as opposed to kind of just like fitting things in as I, you know, impulsively.
Absolutely. And I think like it's this weird phenomenon that happens for women in business. Like we start off the business probably to fulfill our lifestyle goals, but then we kind of get thrown into the hustle of it all because we're trying to make it work. And so there's this point where you're like, whoa, what's like, this is not why I started this thing.
You do it for freedom. And then, there's always, it seems like all of us go through a point where like, wow, I am not free. You know, I feel like my business owns me. And so, I think we kind of, you know, I've kind of gone through that pendulum shift of like swinging over to being like, wow, this is really stressful. It's taken over my life, to like, no, I want that balance back. And so how do I structure my life and my schedule and my mindset to support having a life that actually is free, or has the freedom that I want and the time that I want. And
absolutely.
Me running my business and not it running me.
Which is so easy to do. And so on mindset, have you utilized the support of anything specific to help you with your mindset, or you've just kind of worked on it yourself?
I definitely, that's a huge focus of the coach that I'm in the program that I'm in. And she's great about kind of having us like step outside of those emotions and those thoughts and kind of reframing things, you know. And so that's been big. I would say that my journey and mindset started a lot earlier than that. It was something that I started identifying in myself as kind of like, for a long time, I had like kind of a scarcity mindset. It was like, you know, I was afraid to invest in myself I, kind of, I don't know, I just was always in this feeling of like scarcity, like kind of living that way. And when I started realizing it, I'm like, that's not how I want to run my business. And that's not what I want to teach my daughter. And so I began like kind of doing work on my own, I guess, to change that and to start taking those risks and taking big steps in investing in me and reframing my mind around money and, all of that. And that made a huge difference. It was like that was when my business really started to grow. Like when I really started like having more like stability in my business as opposed to, kind of the feast or famine. And certainly, that's can be a part of business no matter what. But I feel like that was a big turning point for me when I actually started doing the work. And of course, that was just the beginning, and it's a long process. I think I'll be doing it forever, never kind of get to the perfect mindset, but you get better at identifying when you're not thinking things that are helpful to you and starting to turn those around and be like, okay, well, what can I think, or what can I choose to focus on that will actually move me forward, even if the circumstance is tough,
Yeah. Or even just leaning on your support crew like you mentioned previously. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. Amazing. Well, it has been absolutely such a gift to hear more about the behind the scenes of your business. Before we go, I would love for you to talk us through any free and paid offers that you have running so that people can come and check out your socials.
Sure. Yeah. So the big one I have coming up is called Brand Your Brilliance Challenge. And it's for women service providers who maybe you've been in business for like a year or two, and you're feeling like you, maybe at the beginning you DIY'd your brand and like, what you were talking about, you kind of put stuff together, because I think branding can be something that gets put off at the beginning, or maybe you're not even sure totally what your offer is or who your target market is. But maybe that a year or two in, you're like, okay, I know that I'm starting to get this locked in and I'm ready to elevate my brand to really reflect the excellence and the quality that I, provide to my clients, and start attracting people that maybe are higher paying clients or more dreamy clients than you've had before. So that's what the kind of the goal of the challenge is. And the way that we're doing that is a 3-day challenge. And we're going to talk about brand personality and a little bit of strategy, and then create a mood board, which is basically a visual picture of what you want your brand to look like. And it kind of gives you a template to shoot for and kind of model after. And then I help you choose your colors as well. And colors can be something that people get really stuck in, or they'll just kind of default to their favorite colors. And there's a lot of really interesting color psychology that goes into that. So I've got a bunch of tips and tricks. The homework is simple. The trainings are short. And so it's just meant to give people a quick win. I ran it back in March, and we had women that were just, who maybe said at the beginning, like, I'm not a designer. I don't have an eye for this, who came up with like really amazing stuff. And so I was so proud of them for really coming up with something that lit them up, and then like gives them more confidence to go out and share what they do and attract the type of client they want. So we're doing that June 7th through the 9th is when I'm running that 3-day challenge. And so that's something I think you mentioned that we have a link to, if that's something that's interesting to you. I'd love to have you join us. Like I said, it's meant to be, I know that we're all busy. And so a lot of times, it can feel like, oh, branding is not something I have time for. It's like a rabbit hole that, I don't want to get sucked into, but this will give you a quick win to like get something that you feel really, really good about, that you feel like will actually help your business grow. And so that's going on. And then as far as my offer, I have VIP design days. So depending on where you're at in your business, if you're more like, I need help in branding and I need like the full-fledged, logo and colors and strategy and all of that, and it's structured in a prep period with a design day. And then same thing with website. So again, we spend like 2 weeks prepping, hit the ground running, and then do it all in a design day. And what I love about it is it allows us to just get really laser focused on what your vision is, what you are looking for. And without any distractions, we just kind of like get it out there. Because sometimes website projects, in the past, I've definitely seen this happen where they can drag on for months, and then it's like you can't use it, when it's in development. So this allows women to get something that is like effective, strategic, is really elevated, maybe compared to what they've had before, and then get it out there and get it working. Because the whole idea of a website is that it's selling in your sleep, and that it's helping you grow your business and it's making your life easier. So it's really fun to get that out there for people. So that's kind of like the structure of how I do those VIP design days.
Oh, I love the sound of that. And it's like, just get it done. But from that bird's eye view with the whole concept covered, not just starting with the logo.
Right. I found that a lot of the time of projects like that is just the back and forth of, tweaks in here and there, or like we get busy with our lives, like clients, they have a business to run. So we can take that part away and just make it super focused. And it's amazing what you can do when you get into like the rhythm of creativity and really get into stride of it. It doesn't have to take a long time to do something incredible and strategic and create something that works.
Oh, I love the idea of that. That sounds amazing. And I'm definitely going to join up to your brand, your Brilliance challenge. Thanks so much. It sounds really cool.
Yeah, thanks. I'd love to have you. So
yeah, and thanks again for joining us. Like, it's been an absolute pleasure to hear more about the behind the scenes in your business.
Thanks so much for having me. It's been fun.
And if you have any questions for Alli, feel free to drop them in the comments. I'm sure she will be more than happy to come back.
Yeah, of course.
See you later.
All right. Okay, take care.